Thank you for joining us on this episode of Escape Pod. I'm David Anthony. Tony's out in the field today doing some field work for me. Yay, Tony. He's pretty awesome. And but right now we're down at OMG Con, and I have got with me someone very special, an author. And what is your name?
P Anastasia.
P Anastasia. I like that.
Thanks.
I like that. All right. And so what brings you to the con?
I live in Lexington, Kentucky. I'm a Kentucky author, and I do a whole bunch of events in Kentucky. I do Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, and I just love getting out and actually meeting readers and talking to people face to face, and that's just something I love to do, and connecting with readers.
That's great. That's great. Now, is this your first time at OMG Con?
Yes.
Cool. That's a goal. I like how it keeps growing every year. More and more people come back. Well, hopefully you're really going to have a good experience and want to come back to it again, because we seem to really enjoy it here as well, too. This is our second year, and we like it a lot. They've been really helpful and friendly for us. So let's get to this. How did you get started with writing? I mean, did it something you just started when you were little?
I've been writing my entire life.
Oh, yeah?
Ever since I was a little kid, ever since I could write, I used to write poetry. I entered it in contests at libraries. I would win poetry contests. I started writing my first novel when I was 11. I actually started drawing a cover for it and everything. And,
that's cool.
And then I went to college at Eastern Kentucky University. I got a degree in broadcasting. I started doing voiceover work. I did some work for a radio station in Somerset, Kentucky for a little while. And then I kind of eventually got to that point where I went back into writing and decided that I was just going to stop pretty much what else I was doing and finish these books I all had that I actually wanted to write. And started doing that, and now I've got 5 books out and another one coming out in September and 2 more next year, and it's just plummeting into this whole writing experience because it's just something I love to do. I've always had a great passion for writing and telling stories.
That's great. That's great. So now your early works, as like say when you were little, was that something that did you just write for yourself? Did you turn them in to school? Did your parents read them, that kind of thing? Your friends?
My parents read some of my early work. I would actually consult with my dad, who was in the military for a while. One of my books coming out next year is based in a futuristic world where the government is run by different military academies, but there's still magic and dragons and all these different things that exist.
Awesome.
And I would consult with my dad sometimes about that and ask him about different military rankings and how things worked and try to get some feedback that way so I could not be semi-accurate when I was trying to reflect our universe and this made-up universe as well.
Right.
But I kind of just did it. I did it for myself, but I used to tell people about my stories, and they would always be like, when are you going to publish these things? We want to read these stories. They sound really fascinating. And I got to that point where I was like, okay, enough people were telling me that they wanted to read them, and I knew I just had to get them out there and actually let people read them.
Yeah.
It's just something I've just enjoyed doing and realized that other people would enjoy too.
Now, as you're starting to get, I guess, better at your craft in writing, is it? Was it? How difficult is it to?
I've rewritten some books 5 times.
Have
it's
you?
a learning curve. Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve. You know how to how to tell a story, but there's always better ways to tell our story. There's always better ways to write that story or to describe that story. And working with editors actually has helped me so much. I've learned what I do not wrong, but what I could do better.
Right.
And then as I grow and as I've moved through my stories, I've been writing them what I think is a lot better. I could write better now, obviously, than I could when I was 11.
Right.
Or 15 or whatever when I started some of my books. But it's a lot of work. It's something I love to do, but you learn as you keep doing it. You're constantly learning every day. Every day I'm learning something new.
That's great.
Especially about the industry itself, selling books, and what readers are looking for, how to get to those readers. It changes every single day. It's just a constant learning curve.
Well, now that you got to the point to where you are published, how is it like trying to get, I guess, your foot in the door, get started? Because people bring them stuff all the time, be like, hey, you want to? And they're like, yeah, no thanks, or we're not looking for you. How do you get through that first hard door? What was your experience like?
Well, with me, I actually I'm independently published.
Okay.
And what that means is it's not like vanity publishing. What it is you actually can hire your own editors. You can work with people. You can choose who to work with.
Nice.
I have over 15 years of graphic design experience, so I do a lot of the marketing materials myself. I have artist friends from Chile and Italy that I use that help me with some of my designs for my covers. I do some of the rest of them. I actually teach marketing classes as well, sometimes to other authors, because I've learned so much in this industry.
That's fantastic.
Pretty much, I've been an entrepreneur like my whole life. It's always been something, if I wanted to set out to do something. When I was really little, we used to sell on eBay all the time. We'd go by to different stores and find things and resell them. And I was doing that when I was like 14. So
that's fantastic.
Kind of like, if I wanted to do something, I would set out and do it. And when I started in the publishing industry, I looked into a lot of traditional publishers, and I submitted to a few, and I learned that you don't have to do that to necessarily reach readers.
Right.
There are two ways that you can do it. You know, you can hope that this big publisher will publish you, or you can actually go out and do it yourself, and you can hire your own team and be kind of in control of what you're doing, and you can still reach tons of people, and it's a very rewarding experience. It's just it's a lot of work, but it's like having a business. This is my business. My books are my business.
Right.
And I always tell people, I kind of tell people the pros and cons, but I think the difference in traditional versus independent is, and I say, whatever you decide to do, just keep at it. Just keep at it, because J.K. Rowling, she was declined like 36 times or something with Harry Potter. And,
isn't that amazing?
And George Lucas was declined like 10 times or something with Star Wars. And then these are these massive, amazing entities.
Yeah, super properties today.
If you love it, just keep doing it, and someone else will love it as much as you do. So you just got to keep going at it, and don't let it get you down. If you do submit to these publishers and they don't accept you, you just got to keep trying, because somebody's going to like it as much as you do. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Exactly. Somebody's you're gonna find that niche, I guess. Yes. And so like you have a lot of your product is available on like Amazon.com.
Yes, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I have audiobooks coming of all my books. I'm actually producing them all myself.
Very good.
The first book in the Fluorescence series, Firestarter, is already on iTunes and Audible and everything. You can actually get that. You can go over there and listen to a sample even.
Wow, it's fantastic. So it's on Audible right now?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to have to get that myself, because I'm a big Audible fan. In fact, they're also one of the sponsors of our podcast is audible.com. So that'll be great. So I'll have to get that myself.
And I always tell people, since I used to have some radio experience and I've done voiceover work, I feel like I don't think anyone can translate the characters like I can, because I'm an author. I know how they said everything that they said. And so I hope that people kind of get that feeling when they listen, that they're really in that person's head the way that they were in mine.
Right. And I think that's fantastic that you're actually doing. I mean, it's
a lot of work, but it's fun.
Granted, it's a lot of work, but I'm more excited to listen to your book now, knowing that you're the one that reads it, because that, to me, like you said, you're going to get the intention across of what you actually want to get across, because it's your characters, your book, not just somebody reading pages and interpreting.
There was one line in the first book where one of the male characters says this line, and the way he says it, there were two ways he could say it. He could say it where he comes across like he's just like really mean and kind of a jerk, and then there was a way I softened the line so it sounded like he was kind of being inquisitive and kind of being gentle with it. And I had recorded it a few times and showed it to my husband, and he's like, that's amazing that you can make the character different. You can choose how the listener interprets that character. Just by the way I say that line,
and how they care and empathize with them too, compared to like, oh, I don't like that person, or I don't like this character. But I mean, there's some characters that I'm sure are supposed to be the bad guy, and you want you want your audience to not like them for the right reasons.
There's one of those,
Usually that's the way it goes, anyway.
There's definitely one of those in there, and I've had a lot of people read it, and they're like, I hate that character, and I'm like, just read the rest of the books. It'll get better. It's okay.
So the one you have released now, and it's pronounce it for me?
Fluorescence.
Fluorescence.
Yes,
Okay.
It's Fluorescence, the series. It's a tetralogy. There are 4 of them.
4, all right.
The first one is called Firestarter, and then there's Contagious, Fallout, and Lost Souls. And each book is narrated by a different character. So as you go through the story, you're not reading the same story 4 times. You're reading the story continued from a different perspective.
Oh, wow.
Which means you get to learn like secrets about each character and what they think of each other and things that you couldn't get from one character alone.
Is there any more in this series?
Not yet. The 4th one just came out, I think May 2nd, I think it was. So that just ended. I'm going to write a spin-off probably in a few years, but I'm
there you
working
go.
on so many other books right now. I have to prioritize.
Well, sure. But that's great that now somebody can start on this series.
They can read the whole thing, whole series right now.
Exactly. So they can jump right in and get the whole series. And you also have a website available as well, right?
Yes. There's fluorescencebooks.com, and you can even go to haveyoubeenStarted.com, which is a play on words for the Fluorescence series.
Okay.
And then I have another novel coming out in September. It's a vampire historical paranormal romance. And that is darkdiarynovel.com also.
Okay, all right. We're also going to have all those links in our show notes and as well on our YouTube description as well, so everybody can click right through and find those easily as well. Do you have a fan page or anything?
I've got Facebook fan pages for both book series. I've even got one for myself. So you basically go online. You can either look for P Anastasia on Facebook. You can look for Fluorescence books on Facebook. You can look for Dark Diary. So you can follow basically whatever you want to on there.
Sounds great. That sounds great. Okay, so let's talk about the new one that you've been working on for how long?
About 16 years.
Wow.
Since I was about 15 or so, around there. Is dating myself here, I know.
Well, not at all.
But it was basically before I started college. So
okay.
I used to sit in the college library. I started college in the summer, and there was hardly anyone attending in the summer. And I took a few classes, and I would go to the library during lunch breaks, and I would sit and type on a little floppy disk that I would put in their computer. At the time, they were floppy disks still.
That's a real thing, kids.
Yeah, I know. I actually have them. They still have labels on them with the book title and everything.
That's awesome.
And I would sit there, and I would just kind of write these ideas down that I had, and it was just something that sort of stuck with me for years and years, and kind of is what pushed me to actually start publishing and actually get these books in people's hands, was my love for this book that I was working on back then, this one called Dark Diary. And it's a vampire type of themed book, but you don't have to like vampires to like it. It's about the human aspect of these characters and their history and what they've been through.
Right.
It's just the fact that the vampirism keeps them alive, basically.
Right. Now you say you've been working on it for a long time.
Yes.
So
very long time.
How close is it to getting finished now?
Oh, it's finished. It's already finished.
Okay, so now but it's not published yet, correct?
I have copies actually at my table that I can show people.
Nice.
Yeah, but you can't get it until September 26th.
September 26th.
You can pre-order it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and I'm doing an audiobook for that as well.
Oh, great.
And it's finished. It's finally finished.
That's
off my back, and
that's great. That's great to hear.
It's exciting to actually have it finished and done and everything now.
All right, cool. We'll have all the links and everything on that one as well too, and the dates and stuff. Hopefully, a lot of people listening to the podcast are going to pick that up, because I have a feeling it's going to be a great book, and you definitely need to check it out.
I think it was worth the 16 years it took to write it. I truly do.
Really? That's awesome. That's awesome. You know roughly how many pages it is or words it is?
That one is, I'm trying to think, 76,000?
Wow.
It was like 86, and when I edited it like the fourth time after I got through all my editors, I took out like 10,000 words. And sometimes you have to do that kind of stuff.
Right,
because you make it perfect by doing that.
Yeah.
It's like 360 pages or something. But the hardcover actually has special illustrations in the back that actually illustrate the main character's wings.
Nice.
And he actually has these special dynamics to the way that they work, and there's little graphics in there that kind of explain them, like little anatomical drawings. They're really cool.
That's cool.
Can't get those in a paperback though.
Okay, but that really fleshes out the
yeah, that way you can actually kind of understand. I used to tutor in biology when I was in college, and I'm really big on genetic kind of stuff, and even in Fluorescence, a lot of it is a genetic type of thing, where the DNA in the Fluorescence books is a genetic kind of mutation, and in my vampire book, the vampirism is also a kind of a mutation kind of thing, like a virus almost. And so I'm really big on that kind of stuff. It's not really science-y, but that's just like part of my passion there.
Well, but that's fun though, and it kind of, like I said, if it grounds it even just a little bit in reality.
Yeah, instead of it just being like poof, vampires, magic.
Yeah,
it's like, no,
it's not like pixie dust.
Yeah, it's something that's actually like changed them throughout the years, and they actually kind of mutate over the years. And the main character in that, he's like 400 and something years old, so he's changed since when he was first turned into a vampire.
Well, I guess it would take 16 years to write his story then.
It's evolved as much as he has, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now that you're, I guess, obviously you're still going to do a lot of promotion for this, book sightings and things like that for your new book coming out. Anything in the works that you can talk about that's maybe a future project, or are you still kind of leaving yourself
open? I have like
open?
5 or 6 different books that I'm working on. I've been working on this for years. One of them is a NaNoWriMo, actually, a 30-day. It was you write a novel in 30 days challenge, and it was a book I always wanted to write. It's a mythological fiction about the god Horus and how he kind of evolved as a god, and a lot of bit about his mythology, which is funny because the Gods of Egypt movie came out, which is all about Horus also, but it's nothing like my book, which is totally unrelated. I have a epic fantasy coming out in about a year and a half, and it's about this alternate version of Earth that is run by military academies. Kind of like the government is actually based by two different military academies, one on Earth and one that's actually in space.
And that's when you consulted with your father on?
Yes, that's
cool.
one I talked to my dad about a little bit. And it's sort of a mix. The academies are kind of like an Army setup, and then I have kind of a Air Force kind of setup. And I've kind of mixed almost like Navy, Air Force kind of themes in the one, and then I've kind of mixed Army and a little bit in the other one. And it's military-based government, but the Earth actually still contains things like mythical creatures. There's still magic. And
wow.
There's dragons, and it's just like this amazing world of alternate history. Even like there's even like I have an alternate version of King Arthur and his history, how it's a little bit different than ours. So there's like myths, and then there's actual like real life type of things going on as well. So it's kind of a mix of everything.
That's cool. That's cool. And all this is still in the works. And
yeah, that one I've been working on for almost as long as Dark Diary as well. Those were like my first two books that I really started working on. And that one has been rewritten probably 3 or 4 times already. I'm about halfway finished with it now, and I'm hoping to have that out next year.
Fantastic.
Among all the other things I'm working on.
Well, that's great. We really appreciate you being on our podcast today. And it wasn't too bad, was it?
No, it was fine.
You were a little worried at first.
Yeah, like I said, I joke. I don't like talking about myself. I can talk about my books all day. I can talk about my characters. And people are like, hey, who are you? Where are you from? I'm like, let's just talk about other stuff.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, I think you did great. And so right now available is Fluorescence.
Yes.
The whole series available.
Yes, you can actually get the whole thing, and it's called the Complete Tetralogy. You can get the whole thing as like one giant, massive 212,000 word book. You can get the whole thing in one set as well.
Awesome. That sounds like probably the best way to get it. That way you've got everything.
Yeah, everyone loves the cover on that one too. It's totally different. So they all have unique covers.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. And that's have you been started? Because you may have been started and you may not know it yet. But you got to read the book to figure out what that means. I'm gonna get the audiobook because I like listening to audiobooks. That I do. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well, this is David Anthony, and we have been here talking at OMG Con, and we got more interviews coming up. Stay tuned for those. Thanks for listening. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/outbreak. With over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Support this podcast by signing up today. Again, that's audibletrial.com/outbreak.